Well, good evening, folks. Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. Welcome back to the channel. And what you're looking at is a illustration out of the book called The Greatest Book on Dispensational Truth Ever Written by the humble author. I think his name was Clarence Larkin. And it's funny because I remember when I was just a pup preacher going out to the Christian bookstore. I remember how happy I was to be able to buy this book. And it wasn't even in color back in those days. It was just black and white, you know, back in the days where we had to walk to church uphill both ways. But I just remember, and it was an expensive book. And I had to cobble together and save. And now, boy, if I'd have known then what I know now. You know, I say that, but the fact of the matter is that even if I now could go back and talk to me then, I wouldn't listen to me. The me back then, he knew everything. He had it all figured out. So he wouldn't have listened to me, even if I went back and told him what was coming on. So there you go. But I want to talk to you about Bible prophecy. And that's, you know, that is the kind of the bedrock of a lot of people's Christian existence. You know, once you get saved, once you go to the crossroad demon and get saved, if you didn't watch that Ultimate Crossroad Demon video yet, you have got to see that. It is groundbreaking stuff. That is a Christian whistleblower revelation extraordinaire. Now, when I'm talking about prophecy, I'm talking about, you know, the rapture, the mark of the beast, the rise of Antichrist, the tribulation period. Will the rapture be pre-trib? Will it be mid-trib? Will it be post-trib? Will it be premillennial? Will it be amillennial? Will it be postmillennial? Who's the Antichrist going to be? Who's the two witnesses going to be? All this stuff is what you call Bible prophecy. And it's the subject of an untold number of books that have sold an untold number of dollars. All the Left Behind movies. And I want to show you the main motivation of the Left Behind movies. Here's the main motivation of the Left Behind movies right there. Dollars. That's the main motivation of the Left Behind movies. Dollars, 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 dollars. Let me show you the main motivation of all this prophecy teaching. Oh, and by the way, let me show you the main motivation of Pauline Christianity. Money, 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 honey. And the Protestants and a growing number of Catholics eat this stuff up. It's all about prophecy. It's all about when's the rapture going to come? Who's the Antichrist going to be? What about the tribulation, the bowls, the trumpets, the vials, the seals? And not the art seals, but, you know, opening of seals. And when's the second coming going to be? And the virgins and their oil, and oh my goodness. And I used to be into I would preach from this chart. And I mean, I had a 2-week seminar. All the way through this thing, man. And this was, the book had a couple hundred pages, and it was all these charts. And the explanation of those charts. So it was quite a book. I wish I still had that thing, but I moved so many times, and when I got out of Christianity, I just dumped all that stuff. I wish I'd have kept it, but I didn't. So anyway, what I have discovered and what I'm going to share with you today, because I know a lot of you, even though you've come out of Christianity, even though you know about the rat bastard, even though you know about plastic Jesus, if you don't know about the rat bastard, on this channel, on the front page of this channel, if you pull down, you know, it's got like today, the latest videos, and then right under that it has different sections. One of those sections, I think the first one is Paul a false apostle? And then the very next one might be, is the Lord who we think he is? But if you don't know who the rat bastard is, go look through those videos that say, is the Lord who we think he is? And if you don't know who Plastic Jesus is, we'll go down through in that same section, and there's a section that says Jesus fallacies from Bethlehem to Revelation. And while you're there, you need to look at the blood sacrifice and saviors one. And while you're there, there's a demystifying Revelation. And while you're there, there's also one about, what's the other one? Paranormal and exorcism, because I've been doing that for 35, 36 years. And, oh yeah, by the way, while you're there, you should look at Is the New Testament Now Corrupted? Great stuff, and that's why we get that set up. So you can learn everything that I teach. All of my heresy in one place, very conveniently categorized. But look at this here, man. A lot of moving parts in that. It's a beautiful chart. But what if I told you that the entirety of eschatology, or the study of the end times, the entirety of everything from the rapture to the coming of the New Jerusalem, from Revelation 1:1 to Revelation 22:21, what if I told you that all of that was a brilliantly conceived and meticulously carried out psychological operation by agents of the Society of Jesus, better known as your friendly neighborhood Jesuits? What if I told you that all of this, Left Behind, Thief in the Night, Tribulation, what's the one with the book, that Nicolas Cage was just in with the airplane and all that? I think that's Left Behind. What if all of that, meticulously planned, almost flawlessly until now, they didn't plan on me, or they've planned nobody listening to a former Pentecostal evangelist, former long-haired, going back that way, Pentecostal evangelist. But what if I told you it was all a Jesuit Psy-Op? Well, I tell you a lot of things, but what if I could show you that it was a Jesuit Psy-Op? What if I could prove to you that it was a Jesuit Psy-Op? What would you say about that? Well, have you ever known me to just tell you something and say, take my word for it, trust me? Have you ever known me not to show you and back up everything I say with proof? So, let's look at, is this the right one? Yes. This dapper gent right here, give you a better look at him. This is with his Society of Jesus, his Jesuit badge. Looks like the NFL. Dun, 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 right? And that's interesting. The NFL shield looks exactly like the Jesuit badge. Yeah, that's worthy of writing down. That's worthy of a little bit more study. This is my day. And a lot of it is going through the emails that you send me and the questions that you ask me on the channel. And I write them down. If you send me questions, I say, oh, that's a great idea. I write it down. And then I go back and I look through it. And you can see some of the stuff doesn't make the cut, right? Because I scratch it out, or when I'm done with it, I scratch it out. But, do I read what you send to me? Yeah. Do I consider what you send to me? Yeah. Some of you will recognize some of those topics. Yeah, I do. Although I think this cheap-ass camera, cheap camera's still got things reversed. But we're believing we're going to get some more help and some more donations, and we'll get a nice camera. But anyway, now where was I? I go through this stuff. I actually literally lost my place. There we go. And this one didn't come out of that, but a lot of them do. So this is Francisco Rivera. And who was Francisco Rivera? Well, you know he was a Jesuit priest, born in 1537, lived till 1591. But the important thing about Francisco Rivera is this. And I don't know, can you guys read this? I think you probably can. Read this first sentence. In order to remove the papacy, that's the Pope, from consideration as the Antichrist as an act of countering the Protestant Reformation. So up until the 16th century, remember the last apostle, John, died about 100 AD. He died at the end of the 1st century. So that's 15 centuries. 5, 10, 15 centuries. 1,500 years, almost as long as America's been around. The belief of the vast majority of Christian people was that the papacy was the Antichrist. That the seed of the papacy was the Antichrist. And in order to counter that, Francisco Rivera wrote a 500-page commentary in 1585 on the book of Revelation, entitled, if you can read that, I'll give you $1. I'm guessing it's Latin. But anyway, he wrote that. And this was the first time ever. Remember, almost the 17th century. It was 1585. And, you know, this is something that I didn't always know, so I'll just share it with you. The 16th century starts at 1501. So this is the 16th century, right? Because it's 15 and plus. It's really about the 17th century. And to keep it in perspective, this is only about 30 years before the King James Version was written. King James Version 1616-ish. So you're talking about 35, 40 years before the King James Version. History is pretty cool when you actually look at it, isn't it? In Sacrum Beati Ioannis Apostoli and Evangeliste Apocalypsin Commentarige. Sacred something of John's, the sacred book of John the Apostle and the evangelistic Apocalypse commentary. Latin's not so great, but and what is important is that he proposed that for the first time in the 17th century, for all intents and purposes, so that means for 16 centuries, everybody believed that the papacy was the seed of Antichrist. But for the first time, he proposed that the first few chapters of the Apocalypse, or the book of Revelation, applied to ancient pagan Rome, not Catholic Rome, and that the rest was a future period of 3.5 literal years, immediately prior to the second coming. That didn't come from any Protestant evangelist. That didn't come from Clarence Larkin. That didn't come from C.I. Scofield, who we'll talk about. That didn't come from any great Bible commentary. That didn't come from Oral Roberts University, Jimmy Swaggart Bible College, Rhema Institute, Last Days Ministries. Didn't come from Kenneth Copeland or Kenneth Hagin. No. Even though they all preach it, which is interesting. Your pastor preaches this. Your priest preaches this. If you're a Catholic, you don't really care that they're preaching Jesuit doctrine, but how do you feel knowing that your pastor is preaching Jesuit doctrine? How does that make you feel? 3.5 literal years prior to the second coming. During that time, the Roman Catholic Church would have fallen away from the Pope into apostasy because of the Protestant Reformation, saying that the papacy is the seat of the true and real Antichrist. Martin Luther said that on August 15th, 1520. Now, and then he proposed the Antichrist, who would be a single individual who would come in the future. Now, look at what you've read right there. And some of you are like, you want to turn this off, you want to yell at me, you want to slap me, but you're seeing this and you know it's actually real, and you're like, I hate this guy, but I can't stop listening to him. It's like, I don't know if you saw, and I wish I could use these little clips. It seems like you should be able to use a little bitty clip without violating a copyright. There's a great scene in Star Trek The Next Generation, which I'm not super Next Generation guy, but Data, he gets his emotion chip right, and he goes into the bar, and Guinan, the bartender, gives him a drink, and he drinks, and he's like, ugh, that's revolting, he says. And she says, more? Yes, please. Because he just couldn't stop. And for some of you, that's the way the Christian whistleblower is. But look at what you're reading. The great apostasy, the papacy is the seat of the true and real Antichrist. They're saying that the apostasy was because of the Protestants teaching that the Pope is the Antichrist, when that's exactly what everybody believes. So the Protestants didn't really teach that. That was just part of what everybody believed. The Protestants didn't have to teach it. It was already believed. See, that's how a Psy-Op works. You say something's true, and you say it over and over and over and over until sooner or later, if you tell a lie often enough, people start to believe it's true. And then he proposed that the Antichrist would be a single individual. Every damn one of you watching me has bought that hook, line, and sinker. Oh, who's the Antichrist going to be? Is it going to be Obama, Reagan, Trump, Hillary Clinton? Is it going to be a Jew? Is it going to be a Muslim? Is he going to rebuild the temple? Is he going to find the red? How are they going to find the red heifer? Oh, we've got to have a red heifer. We can't do anything without that red heifer. The red heifer especially gets me. But rebuild the temple and the priesthood and blah, 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 blah. All based around the fact that the Antichrist will be a single individual. All started by a Jesuit priest. This is how Psy-Ops work. This is how brilliant Psy-Ops work, because all this stuff was started by a Jesuit, and now all of you believe it, and you're mad at me for showing you where it came from. That's called the Stockholm Syndrome. What you're experiencing is cognitive dissonance, yes, but it's also Stockholm Syndrome. No, I just know that I've been taught, and no. This is where it came from. Jesuit priest. And you're mad at me for saying it. I'm your liberator, and you're fighting against me on behalf of your captors, because I'm showing you the man behind the curtain. I'm showing you the lie. I'm showing you that you've been fooled. For which of these good works do you hate me? For which of these good works do you hate me? Have I become your enemy by telling you the truth? There was a guy a lot smarter and a lot better than me that said those words a few years ago. The future Antichrist would persecute and blaspheme the saints of God. You believe that, and the Jesuit taught it. Oh, here we go. That a future Antichrist would rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. Jesuit doctrine. Right over here, boys and girls. And over here, We have Jesuit doctrine. Jesuit doctrine. Jesuits. You blame it, what you don't blame on the Masons, you blame on the Jesuits. But yet, do you believe that they're going to rebuild the temple? Oh, you do? What? You do believe they're going to rebuild the temple? You do? Oh. So you believe Jesuit doctrine. Abolish the Christian religion. Destroy the Rome. Oh, look at this one. Do you believe that the Jews are going to receive the future Antichrist as their Messiah? Oh, what? You do? Oh, you believe Jesuit doctrine. Oh, that he would kill the two witnesses? Do you believe that? That he would conquer the world? How does it feel being a Protestant Jesuit? There's people out there right now going to their bookshelf, throwing away all their left behind books. Well, that's terrible. And good for you. If you burn them, they probably scream. No! You know, the whole Ouija board lore. So how did he do this? You are not going to believe this one. To accomplish this, Rivera proposed that the 1,260 days, the 42 month, and the 3.5 times of prophecy were not 1,260 years as based on the year-day principle, but a literal 3.5 years, hence preventing the arrival of the deduction of the 1,260 years. 3.5 year tribulation. Every one of you believes that. Some of you believe that it's going to be the last 3.5 years after you all have been raptured, but oh man, I got some stuff for you. Some of you think it's a 7-year tribulation, but you all think it's at least this part of it you agree with. Whew. That's a damn good Psy-Op. When all of the people that hate the Jesuits, and what they don't blame on the Freemasons, they blame on the Jesuits, yet they're preaching, teaching, defending, fighting for, tooth and nail, punch you in the nose. Yes, it's true. Bless God. And it's Jesuit doctrine. It's called futurism. And it was Ribera's proposal that the book of Revelation does not bear application to the Middle Ages or to the papacy, but rather the future. You all believe that. All of you. As much as I've been trying to show you that it ain't so. Maybe now you'll pay me a little more heed. And who started it? A Jesuit. And when did he start it? The 17th century. How did it get spread throughout the whole church, the whole Protestant church? By this guy right here, C.I. Scofield. Now, how many of you have the C.I. Scofield Reference Bible? Glory to hallelujah. Oh, that's because you're stupid. Because everybody knows you can't get the Holy Ghost unless you got the Dake's Annotated Reference Bible. The Scofield Reference Bible, that was for chumps and for pretenders. The Dake's Annotated Reference Bible, that was for the real scholar. I mean, look at that thing. Look at that thing. It's bigger than my head. Oh, man, this thing has been on 5 continents. This thing has had more heresy preached out of it than many other Bibles in the whole world. I mean, this is, wow. The resonance and the harmonics and the frequencies in this Bible has heard the voice of Adolf Hitler. That's in Confessions of an Exorcist. But the Scofield Reference Bible, the baby Bible, the ones for the people that couldn't handle the Dake Annotated Reference Bible. And look, I don't even have to say it. They've already said it right here. He was an American theologian, minister, and writer whose best-selling annotated Bible popularized futurism, which was created by who again? A Jesuit priest. So let me just get this straight. A Jesuit priest. A Jesuit priest invents a doctrine, and it winds up in the best-selling annotated reference Bible. You cannot make that stuff up. And you ask me why I left Christianity. Oh, he left Christianity because his wife left him and because he was mad at all the people because they didn't love him anymore. No, he left because of this kind of crap. Because he woke up, bing, because I opened my eyes. Because I got disgusted of lying to people and being lied to. No, I wasn't thrilled that my wife left. No, I wasn't thrilled that all my friends left me. But it doesn't matter. That's not why I left. It's convenient for you to try to say that because you're trying to do something to knock a brother down because you can't assail his data because he is tight on the data. This is why I left. It wasn't because of my ex-wife. It was because of this fool right here. And this brilliant bastard over here. Man, he was smart. So his book, his Bible popularized futurism, dispensationalism, which is, where did we go? Dispensationalism, that's what this is. Dispensationalism, this whole chart. Among fundamentalist Christians. PayPal, Patreon, support my work. You don't get this anywhere else. Everybody needs to hear it. I can't get it to everybody without you. The only thing stopping me, the only thing holding up the progress of my work is a lack of this stuff right here. A little more of this, and we can get it going even better. And the reason why it spread throughout all of fundamentalist Christians and all of the Protestants is because this guy must have been a hell of a salesman, because his book, his Scofield Reference Bible, became the de facto textbook for all of the Pentecostal Bible colleges and all of the pretty much all of the Protestant Bible colleges. And when it got into those Bible colleges, of course, all the Bible colleges are teaching it, and then everybody else starts, teaching it because the preacher taught it. So it was the Jesuit, and this still just boggles my mind. The Jesuit priest invents the doctrine of futurism and dispensationalism, and then the rip-roaring C.I. Scofield, glory to hallelujah, Scofield Reference Bible puts in the Jesuit doctrine. The Scofield Reference Bible is the most effective propagating tool of the Jesuit doctrine ever. You see how brilliant that is, how brilliant that guy was? Remember I called him a brilliant bastard? This fat bastard, who worked for the rat bastard, masterminded this whole thing. Can you imagine? What he came up with was so good that not only did the people that he was trying to knock down believe it, but they accepted teaching what he said they didn't teach, and then they went and taught everybody else. Oh man, that is so brilliant. I have a grudging respect for this guy. He invents a doctrine, and the greatest Protestant Bible writer ever, for those people that are ignorant of the Finest Jennings Dake Reference Bible, puts it in his Bible. Can you say cha-ching? Can you say damn, he was good. That's what you call a brilliantly conceived and meticulously executed Psy-Op. When you got your enemies teaching your Psy-Op. This guy would have walked past a Nazi. I know the timing's off. He would have walked past a Nazi to put a bullet in the brain of a Jesuit. But either he's a Jesuit agent or he's a duped idiot like the rest of us were for a lot of years. Not me anymore. You, I don't know. Now, I like to keep these short, but I think I should give you the second half because that's most of the Psy-Op. But there's another piece of the Psy-Op. And if you remember our picture, where's our picture? Oh, it's on the show page. The picture of what I had for the start of this broadcast. But anyway, here's the second part of the Psy-Op. And you know that it's a Psy-Op because there's not even a picture of this dude. Born in 1935, died in 1987, allegedly. He was a straw man. He was a stick figure. He never existed. But what this guy was from the mind of this guy, pardon me, Jack Chick. And he's the guy that started the infamous Chick tracks. You remember these things? I don't know if they still have them out there now, but they're little tiny booklets like this. You know, this was your life. This one, you know, you're using the urinal or whatever you ladies are using, and you know you're trying. You know, and I don't know how it is with you ladies, but with men, eyes forward, right? And if they lay it right there on the top of the urinal, there's a underneath the flusher thing. I don't know if you've ever seen them, ladies, but if they lay it right there and eyes front, you know, oh, what's that? You actually might even look at it. Or I remember they used to, this is dating myself, but you find them in phone booths all the time. But this was your life. It's like this. They're about, you know, the size of an index card, a little bit bigger, and they're made out of cheap, like news stock. Very little color in them. But yeah, you open it up, and they let us into stuff we found in the Harry Potter books, like tarot cards, Ouija boards, crystal balls. Samantha, the Potter books open a doorway that will put untold millions of kids into hell. And they're serious. These aren't parody. These are not parody. Samantha, the Harry Potter books will open a doorway that'll put untold millions of kids into hell. Uncle Bob, you don't know the half of it. Holly's dad is a preacher, and he likes Harry Potter. Hey, what about all the occultic junk in my room? Should I destroy it? Absolutely. That's what these whole things were. That's the Chick tracks. And it was this guy, Jack Chick, who came up with the Chick tracks. How do I get back to him there? Came up with the Chick tracks. And in one of the Chick tracks was Father Alberto Rivera. And he wasn't really, he was said to have been a Jesuit priest. He was not a Jesuit priest. He didn't even exist, but look at the name. Rivera. Oh, I just closed my tab. Remember the priest name, the Jesuits' priest name that started all this? Rivera. Rivera. Very, very ingenious. And the story was that this guy, who we don't even have a picture of because he never existed, and look at that, Jack T. Chick's rendition of Alberto. And I remember I read all the they came in comic books too. You had these comic books, the Crusaders, these burly dudes, a burly white guy and a burly black guy, and they went around and busted out Jesuits and stuff. It gets better. Hold on. So he was supposedly a Jesuit priest, right? But he became a fundamentalist Protestant. And this priest supposedly, told all of these stories about how the Jesuits were bad and how the Jesuits were all Freemasons and how he was tortured by the Jesuits, and how he barely got away, and how the Jesuits how the Jesuits created communism, they created Islam, they created Nazism, they created the world wars, they created Jonestown, the assassinations of Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy. The Catholic Church wants to spread homosexuality, abortion, that the charismatic movement is a front for the Catholic Church, that the popes are antichrist. See, they throw a little bit in there, and that the Catholic Church is the whore of Babylon, that the church started Islam, and the Jack Trick comics. Here you go. Here's the comics. There was also comic book sizes. But you see, this guy is invented to go out there and, oh, we can cheer for him. You guys that are Protestants, right now, Protestant people are crying all over the world because they love those little chick tracts, and they love the chick comic books, and they love Alberto. That's what he was called in all the comics. Alberto, he taught us about all the bad things the Jesuits are doing. But guess what? Alberto strongly 100% believes in the rapture. Alberto strongly 100% believes in the future tribulation. Alberto 100% believes that the Antichrist is future and is a single person. Alberto 100% believes that there's going to be a rapture and a tribulation. Alberto 100% believes in that red heifer and the rebuilding of the temple and the restoration of the priesthood. Alberto Rivera believes in all of the same stuff that Francisco Ribera believed in, while saying that he hates the Jesuits. It's a Psy-Op extraordinaro. And again, it's all based on getting your dinero. This is brilliant stuff. And the only question that I have is, were these people like Schofield, Chick, maybe even all the way back to Martin Luther, were they plants? Were they parts of a Jesuit Psy-Op, of the same Jesuit Psy-Op, or were they just fools that got deluded and got taken in by the spirit of Andrew Jackson, Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Ulysses S. Grant, and the rest? I don't know. But I do know that all you fools, and I say that in a loving way, all you fools still fight and yell. They're yelling and screaming going on across the world today, right now, watching this video, because they're mad at me for showing them that they've been duped since the 17th century by a brilliant Jesuit priest who created the greatest Psy-Op that I know of, at least the greatest religious Psy-Op, meticulously planned, almost flawlessly delivered, and you are gobbling it up. I like that air. Give me some more. I love that Jesuit stuff. Give me some Jesuit fries. How about a Jesuit drink? Give me some Jesuit dessert. Give me more. I can't get enough Jesuit stuff. I love me Jesuit stuff. Get in my belly. What you going to do now that the truth of the situation is broken out all over you? What you going to do? What you going to do? Well, that's up to you. All I can do is lead you to water, can't make you drink. All I can do is lead you to objective, historical fact. I can't make you think. But it's kind of fun trying. It's so much easier to fool people than it is to convince them they've been fooled, said Mark Twain. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop trying. Jeffrey Daugherty, Christian whistleblower, unwind your mind and unindoctrinate yourself.